Thank you everyone for tuning in to this very important event and fundraiser and friend raiser and support raiser for candidate Julie Jenkins for Florida House District 61. I can tell you fighting up in Tallahassee is really difficult when you don't have enough people in your party, but not just people in your party. We want great people in our party. And I think that Julie just represents everything that we are looking for in Florida House candidates. And I am honored to be here tonight and serving as your MC. We have a wonderful program lined up for you. I'm talking star-studded. We were just joking about how everyone signed up just so they could hear Congresswoman Kathy Castor. I know I did. I'm just kidding, Julie. Love you too. But anytime that I can be anywhere, even virtually, where there's a caster there, I'm always there. So,
and we've got two casters.
You've got double trouble.
So like, yes, when there's a caster there, I am there. So
Jane and Kathy, yep.
So with that, we have a program and lined up for you. So we will make sure that we follow the program and get everyone done by 7. I think that Congresswoman Castor was making her remarks. So is there any more, or was Congresswoman Castor's remarks before everybody was in? Should we have her say a little bit more, or are we good to go?
Kathy, if you don't mind, if you want to say something, what's going on, everyone really, we do want to hear from you. We love you. We're glad you're our Congresswoman, and continue to be our Congresswoman to become Senator and then President.
Thanks, Julie. Well, I was joking, for the folks who just came on, I joked that you all have heard James Corden and Carpool Karaoke, and I'm here in my car because we just finished votes here on the floor. A number of interesting votes today to remove Confederate statues from the U.S. Capitol. We passed a bill to the No Ban Act to again eliminate the Trump Muslim ban. We have this week been working on the defense bill. That's very important, and I'm proud that we have a pay raise for our military, and we have we're doing a lot in that bill on the climate crisis. But I mean, COVID is the issue, and that's the challenge. We're in negotiations right now. As you all know, the House of Representatives 2 months ago passed the HEROES Act that directs the Trump administration to do more on widespread and rapid testing. It would also provide a special enrollment period for folks who've lost health insurance. They can enroll in the ACA, or we will pay the COBRA so they stay attached. It provides another round of unemployment benefits, and it's been disheartening to see our GOP colleagues say that unemployment insurance is right now an incentive not to work. I mean, that's offensive. That's why we've got to change things here in the White House, but in the Florida legislature, that's why this race is so critical, because there aren't many seats, and Fentress will weigh in on this too. There aren't many seats that are available to flip. And if we can get a few of these seats, this one included, it would bring greater balance and sanity to Florida. And Julie is an outstanding candidate. There's no one who understands this district of South Tampa and Town and Country and down along Tampa Bay better. She has been involved for many years. She knows the challenges small businesses are going through right now. And Julie, I'm grateful that you're running. It's going to be a challenging campaign to do a lot virtually, but you need the funds to be in the mailbox and to hold events like this. So everyone out there, thank you very much for supporting Julie. Let's ask other friends and neighbors to help her as well. And I think with our Vote by Mail program and the fact we'll have Trump versus Biden at the top of the ballot, this is one that is going to fall right under that, and we can take the seat. And thanks again, Julie, for running. And it's really good to see everybody. So I'll throw it back to Fentress.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Castor. And you're just so amazing, and that you would even dial in for an event back home in Tampa while you were there and just worked a hard day for us in Washington, D.C. just speaks volumes about your heart as a leader and the passion that you have for Tampa Bay. So thank you so much. We love and appreciate everything that you do, Congresswoman Castor. So now let's see. I think we're going to be joined by some additional special guests. I'm checking the roster to see if they're there yet. You would think that I've never quite used Zoom before, but once I spread it out to see the participant view, I mean, you all look so lovely and just beautiful. And this is what diversity should be all about. So I'm looking to see if we have any of our special guests with us. We're waiting on the Honorable Alex Sink. I'm not sure if the Honorable Alex Sink is in yet. So we will just keep the program moving. I did want to check too to see if Judy Rossman is on the line and on the program yet.
I'm here. It's her birthday.
So it's my understanding right that it is Judy's birthday, and that she's been amazingly supportive of Julie and of so many candidates, and really understands what it's going to take to flip some seats blue. So Judy, this one's for you. I can't sing, so please understand I'm doing you a favor, but happy birthday, Judy Rossman. We just want to make sure that we lift you up and wish you a very happy birthday. Now.
Thank you so much. Fentress, could I just say something, please?
Yes, please, go ahead.
I have to tell you that, okay, so today's my birthday, 51, woohoo! And there is really nothing that I would love more for my birthday than to change the fate of our state and our country in this election. I want to get Julie elected. I want to get Trump out. I want to get Julie in Tallahassee. And I'm so privileged to be able to be here with a bunch of sisters who care enough to actually do something with our values. And my birthday gift to myself is to pledge another $1,000. I've already maxed out for what I can give before the primary legally, so I can't actually make the second donation till after the primary, but my pledge is solid, and I can't wait to make that contribution as soon as I can make another one. And I am really hoping that for others of you on this call who've already maxed out, that you'll consider joining me and making an additional pledge for after the primary to lift Julie up so she'll know that she's got funds to work with. I just can't tell everybody how much I appreciate all of us joining hands and joining wallets, because Julie's giving her life for this. Everybody who is elected is giving their lives for this. And the money that we give represents a little bit of our lives that we can share with them. It's our time and our labor. And it's what we can give to them to make it possible to go to represent us and make sure that women's interests are represented.
Well, Judy, thank you so much for those very kind words and for being so selfless on your birthday. I just dropped the link in the chat for everyone. If you were wondering how you can make a contribution to this wonderful candidate that we're supporting tonight, you should feel free to visit votejuliejenkins.com. That's votejuliejenkins.com. And let me just say a little word about campaigns and why finance is really so important. You know, the districts that we represent in the Florida House are roughly 160,000 people or so, give or take. That's a lot of people to try to reach. I mean, even if you knocked on multiple doors every day and you had volunteers doing it, it's very difficult to reach everyone. But that's why it's so important to have resources for mail, you know, for ads, for digital advertisements, for ads on radio and television. But all of that takes money. Hiring a good campaign staff takes money. Everything takes resources. So if you care about this seat and you care about the direction that our state is headed in, you need to understand really what an opportunity you have in supporting Julie, because Julie is challenging a Republican incumbent and she's trying to bring our legislature more into balance. I have a dear friend, Councilman Luis Vieira. He serves on city council, and he always says, and it cracks me up every time, but it's true, that Florida has the population of California, but the legislature of Mississippi. And that's what we're working with. We have a state that really is purple. We're a swing state, but we have a legislature that really passes legislation that's very far to the right and that is not reflective of the diversity or values that we have in our state. So anytime we have an opportunity to flip a seat, it matters a great deal, but it takes resources to do that. So thank you for being on tonight and for pledging to do that. So we are going to continue to go and move on with the show. So as host, I get the opportunity, even though so many of you already know Julie Jenkins, I get the opportunity of introducing her formally. And it was a real pleasure for me to read Julie's bio. I met Julie because I don't know, everybody just kept telling me like, hey, have you met Julie Jenkins? Have you met Julie Jenkins? I'm like, no, who is Julie Jenkins? And they're like, she's the one who's gonna flip District 61 and take back South Florida. And I'm like, man, then I gotta meet Julie Jenkins. And we became fast friends. And so many of you on the line already know why. But let me tell you a little bit about Julie, and maybe there's some nuggets in here that you don't know. Julie was born in Plymouth, Michigan. She's a Midwestern girl. She moved to Florida at age 15 and is a graduate of Venice High School in Venice, Florida. She attended St. Leo University, graduating with a degree in political science. No surprise there. She was elected the first female student body president in the school's history. So she knows what it's like to make history. After college, she worked as a governmental affairs intern for US Congressman Buddy McKay in Washington, D.C. And after D.C., Julie held positions in the travel and tourism industry in California. In 1988, she moved to Tampa, Florida, and continued her work in the travel industry as a sales manager for Holiday Inn Hotels and Virgin Atlantic Airways. Julie successfully promoted Tampa Bay and Florida to both corporate and leisure markets for 20 plus years. During this time, she served on many travel and charity events to make Florida a great destination and community. After the travel industry, Julie turned her attention to philanthropy in the community. She was Director of Development for the St. Peter Claver Catholic School for 5 years and Associate Director of Development for the Children's Home for another 3 years. Julie used her talents in fundraising and marketing to increase charitable donations for these important community resources. Now she works part-time in the family's marketing firm so she can devote her efforts to the campaign. In 1992, along with her husband Dan, Julie co-founded and led the Courier City, or the North Hyde Park Neighborhood Crime Watch, for 5 years to successfully bring neighbors together, clean up alleys and dilapidated homes, and make the streets safer. She continued this work with neighbors as co-president of Belmar Shores Neighborhood Association in 1998. Julie started the first Halloween parade, which continues to this day over 20 years later. She has served in many leadership and volunteer positions on PTA committees with her children's schools, Del Mabry, Coleman, and Plant, including heading up large-scale auctions and many fundraisers. She's also a member of St. Patrick's Catholic Church. Julie is or has been active in many, many community organizations, too many to name, but here are a few: the League of Women Voters, Women in Tourism, the Sierra Club, Airline Sales and Marketing Executives, the Rotary Club, and the South Tampa Democrats. She also has served in numerous positions on the alumni board for St. Leo University. She's been married to her husband, Dan, for 30 years, and they have 2 grown children, Sam and Max, and 2 dogs, Mika, and my personal favorite, the man in black, Mr. Johnny Cash. So that is our candidate, Julie Jenkins. Julie, thank you so much for letting me do this. I wanted to ask you some questions, if that would be all right. And our first one is, talk to us a little bit, now that we've heard about your history, how will you translate your past employment work with this new job that you're seeking as a legislator?
First off, I want to say hello to everybody. I love you all for coming on board. I love you all for hosting. Fentress, I love you. Thank you for all your words of advice. It's worked. I'm here and it's going. One of the reasons I'm running for this position, friends, is because of my background. I've been involved in our national corporate business, executive national sales manager for Virgin Atlantic Airways, selling the state of Florida and 5 surrounding states. We run a small local business, a marketing company, and I've done philanthropic work. So it's sort of like a trifecta. One thing I want to tell everybody, if my husband asks if I'm working, I am working, okay? He doesn't know I'm on the stump full time, but I am working. And so what I think about this position is, you've got to be able to listen. You've got to be able to come through on what people need, and people need help right now. And this is what I've been doing for so many years, whether it was my job selling Florida to surrounding states in the country, telling people that, yes, we need the river walk. And it came to, I was in a crowded field of 6 candidates years ago when my kids were in elementary school. And I think it was my first run for city council. And they went down the line saying, do you believe we should have the river walk? And everybody said, no, 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 no. And I was the 6th person. I said, yes, because if we build it, they will come. Florida is unique. Tourism, our economy. We have to bring people in, and we've got good people and companies that are continually looking at us. So I've dealt with a lot of Chamber of Commerce. I've sold our state, and I can sell our state to a lot more people once I get into Tallahassee. And I've been helping charities, our businesses for years, and now I'm just taking it to a bigger level. So with my background of philanthropic, small business, which most of you all know I'm very active in, and national corporate, I think I've hit the trifecta, and I can go out and work for our district and the people of Florida.
Well, thank you so much, Julie, for sharing that. And you know what? You will need to be able to sell the state and help us bring good paying jobs to the state, so that those skills are definitely applicable. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge some VIPs that I see on the list. And if I miss you, please charge it to my head and not my heart. I'm trying to catch everybody. But I see the Honorable Pat Kemp, one of our Hillsborough County Commissioners, on the line. I see one of our local PTA presidents, Damaris Allen, on the line. I see earlier we had the Honorable Betty Castor on the line, former president of USF, former state senator, and former commissioner of education for the state of Florida. If there's anyone else I need to acknowledge, please let me know. I see Jordan Pride, president of the Hillsborough County Democratic Black Caucus, and probably so many more. I see Commissioner Mariella Smith. Thank you for being here tonight. The Honorable Mary Figg, thank you for being here. I see you as well. And without further ado, one of our very, very special guests has joined us. This is a woman who knows what it means to put up a fight, and to put up a good fight. Yes. She is the only statewide elected Democrat, and in fact, is the first statewide elected Democrat that we've had since the Honorable Alex Sink. She protects our consumers. She protects our agriculture. She really is the vanguard of Democratic leadership in this state. Without further ado, please allow me to introduce our Commissioner of Agriculture, Nikki Fried. Nikki, we are so glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited when I logged on and I saw you speaking. I got a real smile on my face. Talk about a fierce fighter for her constituents. Thank you, Fentress. And I'm so delighted to be on this call. Julie, thank you for having me on. And while we haven't had an opportunity to actually sit down and talk and to really meet, hearing your background, again, another past student body president, you're in good company here with Fentress and myself. And so certainly, so excited to see the fact that you have put together such a stellar group of people on. I do a lot of fundraisers across the state virtually now at this point, and the fact that you have 95 people on a virtual fundraiser says a lot about you, says a lot about your leadership and what you are going to bring to Tallahassee. And this is such a critical year. I think we all know that by seeing what is happening not only in Tallahassee, but across the country, and getting out the vote and getting good people in Tallahassee. It is not easy being a Democrat up in Tallahassee, for sure. We are definitely outnumbered, but we are come together and we fight for good causes. And having somebody like you in our trenches fighting every single day for the values that we as Democrats hold true would be such an honor, without a doubt. And so certainly excited. And I want to also explain why this is an important election more than anything else. Not only the presidential, I think we all know that, yeah. that you can see the difference in types of leadership styles, and the fact that we have a president right now who teaches fear, who teaches hatred and divides our country. And Joe Biden is going to be somebody who's going to unite us, bring us back that moral compass, that beacon of light that we are supposed to be shining on the rest of the world. But let's come back to local. Why it's important to have people like you and Fentress and any of the others who are elected on this call and getting Democrats into office. Because as I sat through after last session and this session, my heart broke. My heart broke because we weren't able to stop a lot of really damaging legislation that the voters of our state, voted for Amendment 4, and the legislature did everything it is possible to mess it up. The fact that we're still in the court system, passed legislation to put more emphasis on our charter schools and less on our public education, to suppressing voters and getting ballot initiatives up to the voters and getting it passed, to parental consent I mean, just the things that we have seen just in the last 2 years, and why it is so important to get Democrats into Tallahassee to shake things up and to truly be fighting for every single Floridian, not just a very small voting bloc that somehow has allowed Republicans to remain in control of our legislature. And this year in particular is so important because we're about to go into redistricting. And this is an opportunity that if we are able to show more numbers in the Florida House, I was just on a call with Javier Fernandez, who hopefully will take Senate District 39 and give us additional power up over in the Senate. But without having more of a say in how our maps are drawn, we potentially will have 10 more years of just Republican rule and an inability to really change the numbers. So this is our last stance. And so it is important to have people like you, Julie, who are going to be up in Tallahassee fighting for us and fighting for the everyday like Floridian, you know, hearing the concerns of our constituents. It's heartbreaking to see just the disconnect in leadership in Tallahassee and the average Floridian. And so I'm excited to be part of this. 100 strong women in leadership, again, shows a power force behind you. And I'm just excited to see what you're going to be able to do and to bring it home for us in November, and looking forward to serving with you. So I'll turn it back over to you, Fentress.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Always great to see you. The reaction that you had for me is the same reaction that I have for you. We have this mutual appreciation society going on. So always great to see you. Thank you for being here tonight. And just, yes.
Before you go into anything else, Nikki, can I just tell you thank you so much for coming. This is why we have 95, 100 people on. They heard you were coming, and Kathy Castor, so thank you. And as you can see from all the chat, we want you to run for governor. We're all with you. These are your peeps, and we have mutual friends, and we can do this. And I agree with you. I'm hoping it's not going to take 10 years. We don't need another 20 years or 10 years of Republican-controlled legislature. That's the reason I'm in there, because I believe, as you do, we can do this. We can change it, and we can get more Nikki Frieds and more Fentress and more all our good people, Jennifer Webb, Margaret Good, etc. So thanks, Nikki. I'd hug you if I could.
Virtual hugs.
Yes.
Yeah, don't we all miss hugs?
Yes.
And miss hugs. And, you know, to that point, and just to lift up a couple things that Commissioner Fried highlighted, the first is redistricting. So this is our last best chance to flip some seats before redistricting. What is going to happen is that the legislature, we form our own districts, like we're the ones who draw the map. So it's self-policing. We will form our own committees to redraw these maps. But I can tell you that what happens right now in Tallahassee with committees is that they're stacked. So you would think that, there are 47 Democrats, there are 73 Republicans, that the committee membership makeup would reflect that same balance, but that's not what they do. What they might do is, they might assign me as a Democrat 4 committees, but my Republican colleagues might have 5 or 6 committees so that their votes are weighted on those committees. So this cycle really matters so much. We need to flip as many seats as we can so that we have a great chance for redistricting, just to make sure that things are fair and equitable. And then the other point that I wanted to lift up, speaking of hugs and having to hug virtually, we need better leadership when it comes to COVID-19 in this state. And even though a global pandemic may not have been entirely foreseeable, calamity is not anything new to our state, right? Like we have hurricanes, we have natural disasters. And so we need to make sure that we're always as prepared as possible. But when these things strike, that we have really good leadership. And it's going to take good members of the legislature to go back and deal with the budget crisis that we're going to have. It's going to take good legislative leadership to try to fix this broken unemployment system that we have. So just a couple more reasons why we really need Julie. So thank you so much, Commissioner Fried. Julie, I'd like to talk to you. Speaking of policy changes that we're going to need and budgetary reforms, have you given any thought to the first bill? What's one of the first bills that you'd like to file once you are elected?
Well, I have put some consideration into my first bill, but I want to tell everybody right now, I'm working 7 days a week. I'm giving 120%. And when I get to Tallahassee, it's not going to be tiddlywinks. It's like Representative Sarah Romeo said before. Hey, I got there. I started working immediately. It's not going to take me 4 years to get a bill passed. So there is a philanthropic organization called Preserve Florida, and it's for children and their eyesight. And what the director has been trying to get across for years, and like you say, Fentress, sometimes we don't have empathetic people up there that are listening. And this organization goes out to schools, particularly low end and other schools, and they do eyeglass checks and eye exams for these kids. And a lot of these schools are D or F type schools. Well, once these children get their eyes checked and they realize, okay, their education was impeded because these kids couldn't see. So my whole goal, the first thing I would like to do is get children checked in all of our schools. And there's a lot of people behind us that would like to help out on this. What has happened is once these kids are checked and they get their eyeglasses, guess what? They can see. Their school goes from an F to a B or an A because these kids couldn't see or they weren't seeing properly. So that is one bill for sure that I would like to work on immediately when I get there.
That is great. And the Honorable Sarah Romeo, actually the district that I sit in is her former district. It used to be known by a different number back before, I think maybe District 62 or so back before
Yes.
redistricting. But
Yes.
yeah, she's a great leader in our community as well. You know, Julie, I'd like to turn and pivot a little bit to talk about healthcare.
Yes.
I feel like COVID-19 has deepened the visibility of the divide when it comes to healthcare in terms of haves and have-nots.
Mm-hmm.
Could you share with the attendees a little bit about your thoughts on the current state of healthcare?
The current state of healthcare needs help. I hope to get up to Tallahassee. And I think if we can expand Medicaid, we'd be the 38th state, 37th or 38th state there. I'd like to have lower prescription drug prices coming through. I want to help out the most vulnerable in our community. And Karen Clay, who's a good friend of mine, knows that we need to continue to uplift and spotlight the disabled and the seniors in our community. The I budget, which takes care of disabled people, we cannot continue to have that cut. In reference to Medicaid that our taxes have paid into, we need to expand it. And one thing I want to bring in that's not really part of the healthcare, but it is, my opponent has come up with a bill, and it's called it's not a bill, it's actually a pregnancy crisis center. And Planned Parenthood was just pushed to the side on this. And what it is, it's a shell. People come in to get help for whatever they may need with their pregnancy or if they're an abortion, and they don't get the help that they need. So tax dollar wise, I don't believe our tax dollars should be going into arenas such as that. Our tax dollars pay into our Medicaid. And so I want to make sure that we take care of that and expand it. Just like you've tried to do, Fentress, with ERA. You know, a lot of people, my opponent, water carriers, we're going to make it work. We're going to do it this time. So that's where I am on our healthcare. And I definitely, one thing, we don't want to lose the ACA, which a lot of the other side wants to get rid of, which we won't.
That's right. And thank you for highlighting those important issues. And I think it's an important reminder. I see many people on the call who are supporters of Planned Parenthood and who are supporters of reproductive justice. Reproductive justice is healthcare. Yep. And I can tell you, even having only been in Tallahassee for a couple of years, women's rights when it comes to reproductive justice, constantly under attack. So we have to remain vigilant and send people to Tallahassee who will be vigilant also. Before we move on to our next question, just wanted to really uplift. You look so beautiful, and just thank you for being on tonight. Really want to uplift Ruthless for helping to pull this together. I know we've got Becca Teeter on the line. Thank you so much, Becca. I know we've got Jeanette Stewart. We really appreciate you. I believe we have the new president and CEO, Barbara, on the line. Thank you so much for being here tonight and for supporting Julie for this special event. Now, Julie, let's talk a little bit about what was the final push that got you to run for office? You know, for me, I know it was a 2016 election, but what was it for you that really made you put your name on the ballot?
What made me put my name on the ballot is, truthfully, guns and the shootings. Ohio, Texas, and then of course our own Parkland, but I think Ohio and Texas. And I think what really broke the camel's back at the time was when our police get up or our sheriffs get up and they say, it couldn't have happened here. Mm-hmm. It does happen here. And we've got to jump on this. It's so important. And that's one of the reasons that I want to go to Tallahassee. People will talk about mental health. Yes, it's mental health. But there's a lot of other things that we've got to take care of. And that was the tipping point for me. There's some other issues that I'm going to talk about, what my opponent voted on, to kill the ban on assault weapons and a lot of other things. But I truly believe that parents, mama shouldn't have to drop their children off at their school, elementary, junior high, or high school, and fear an active shooter or get a call like that. That has got to stop. Kids shouldn't be afraid to go to school. They should be looking for Batman backpacks, not bulletproof backpacks. This is ridiculous. It's like building more roads just to make things so people can get somewhere. We don't need to build more roads. We need to look at gun safety and take care of it. And that is definitely another thing I want to be involved in, hopefully with you, Fentress.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's so many common sense places where we can start too. Common sense ideas that you would think would have bipartisan support in the legislature, because they certainly do in the public, right? Like universal background checks, closing the gun show loophole. But it can be very difficult in Tallahassee to, once you introduce legislation like that, to get it moving, because politics starts getting in the way. And it really should always be people over politics, right? So thank you for sharing that, Julie.
Yep.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit too about how you would work to increase job opportunities in your district.
Well, one thing with my district, I'm going to Tallahassee to also represent the whole state of Florida. So once again, with my job background, I've dealt with tons of chambers. So I do know how to sell. That is my background, sales and marketing. But one of the issues I'd like to see is more of our transportation that you've worked on too, for transportation, safer streets, safer sidewalks, bringing in transportation and jobs that will come with it. Education is a big deal with VOTEC. We want to see more of that. Green jobs, solar, and hopefully we can do more to sell Florida to the corporate market. Look what we did with Jeff Vinnick. We got a great guy there coming in. There's a lot of opportunity for manufacturing jobs. So I think it's just something, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like Small Business Saturday that I run, we did it. It's really taken off. But small businesses are so important to our job environment and economy.
It's so true. And I know that that's something that's really been breathing life into Black businesses too throughout the area, is having Small Business Saturdays to emphasize and lift up those businesses. And there's no reason why a concept like that can't work district by district, where we're uplifting our small businesses that we know uplift and drive this economy. I know a good friend of mine, Edna Rain, who's a former state rep, does something similar, and it's just been amazing.
Yeah, him and Rena Upshaw's husband, Andre. They both do. They both do. Andre Frazier and Edna Rain. And is Candy Lowe in the room too? Because we've worked a lot on Small Business Saturday, going back and forth.
I do not see Miss Candy in the audience, but yes, Candy Lowe has been an incredible champion for small businesses and for Black-owned businesses throughout Tampa. So it's a really powerful concept.
Yep.
So thank you for doing that in your district.
Yep.
Julie, talk to us. What will you work on for our environment and issues related to our environment, protecting our water, our air, our land? What's important to you?
Well, I've said to a lot of people, the time to call 911 is right now on our environment. Florida has a natural beauty. It's an economic driver. And if we don't have basic clean air and water, we're in deep trouble. We're number one for sea level rise. We've got to come up with a resilient coastline program. I've actually already reached out to Ben Diamond, who's across the bay in St. Pete. He's going to be the minority leader, Fentress?
He is in line to be a Democratic leader. That's correct.
Right.
I always say Democratic leader, not minority leader, because we're going to take back this house. But yes, he's in line for leadership.
So I'm thinking ahead. And so I have reached out to Ben. He's been a great guy. And we've talked about his Resilient Coastline program. A lot of people don't realize in 20 short years, by 2040, if we do not put money into this system, into seawalls, into mangroves, we cannot continue to ignore this like the legislature has done for the past 20 years. We can't just keep pushing it to the side. I think the lack of action, and I know it's happened, has led to the algae and the blue blooms that we have plaguing our waterways. So it's a problem, and we've got to work on it. And one thing, there's a bill, I think it was my opponent, once again, I'm going to say her name once so you all know not to vote for that. Jackie Toledo voted to allow treated sewage water back into the aquifer. Now everybody knows the aquifer. We don't want to mess that up. So she voted to allow that. So think of toilet to tap. She also has a bill, 1159, one of, I think it was 2 representatives that voted for it, to gut our tree ordinances. So all the stuff, the people from South Tampa realized that, all the issues, they wanted to cut 60 trees at Plant High School and then throughout South Tampa. So a lot of people don't realize that. This is our environment. This is the reason we live in this area, tree canopies, different things such as that. But she's not a friend of the environment. And I was endorsed by the Sierra Club too. I just wanted to let everybody know that too.
Good, and congratulations on that endorsement and so many more. I just want to put this out there to remind people, if you like what you were hearing, and I can tell in the chat that you very much like what you were hearing, I put in there, give early and give often. VoteJulieJenkins.com. Please do not give above the limit, which is $1,000, but please give up to the limit of $1,000. And that resets, of course, once we roll to the general election. But please, please, please consider giving tonight, because it takes resources to amplify Julie's voice and to make sure that she can communicate with voters effectively, and so that we can get her in office. So Julie, we talked about the environment, we talked about gun safety. What do you believe is the most pressing issue right now? Is there anything we haven't covered that's really just weighing on you in this election? Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not going to shut up. I'm going to keep talking. You're going to have to keep me quiet after this. But, sad to say, it's COVID. We all know that. And until we can get COVID under control, nothing is going to work, employment, everything. And of course, the unemployment problem that we have right now, I addressed that in a letter to the editor and on our social media. You too, Fentress, when you were on Tiger Bay, we asked the question, should there have been a special session? Yes, there should have been a special session. Unemployment, vote by mail, hurricane season coming. I believe it's truly a legislator's position that they should sit at the table until it's done. So COVID, unemployment, schools, I have to bring schools into this right now because of what we're dealing with. I want to tell everybody, I believe in science, okay? What we are dealing with right now is fluid, but what we are dealing with right now is here. Brick and mortar is not going to work right now. They can't even give us specifics of how, when, where it's going to work, other than there's an executive order to put our teachers and our kids back at school. I still have a kid in school down in Miami in college, #1 for the area. And I believe it should be virtual. I think a minimum of 2 months until they can get this set. But it's so important. We've got the 7th largest school district in our area. And what are they saying right now? We're the epicenter for it. I know California now is #1, and now New York's coming back, and Florida has been there. But what people don't understand, we don't have to close down. We've learned from this. If we wear our mask and we social distance, it can work. But going back to school, and for those parents that have babies, no. E-learning can work just as well until we figure it out and it's safe. I just saw in the news today, Broward, and I think they're bigger than us possibly school system wise. They're not doing it, and kudos to them. I think they should. So the superintendent has said, nope, we're just going to do virtual learning.
Right, and I'll tell you that we have the 7th largest school district, not just in the area, I believe it's in the nation. Hillsborough County Schools is a really large school district, and there's such a disconnected message that comes from Tallahassee. You know, it's right now, it's like, oh, we're just going to let the locals do it. Just let the locals do everything. But it's resulting in a patchwork of policy at the local level. And we know that people travel around the state and people want to come out of state and come here. And the science just suggests that we should do better and we should all wear masks. And this also is exposing a divide in our school system, which you hit on as well, right? You know, we do want to have virtual learning, but are we even fully prepared for that? Because the state has gutted public education for so long. We know that there is a digital divide. We know that, you know, not every home has access to high-speed internet, or that not every parent would be able to, you know, perhaps provide, you know, that the quality time that's needed to invest in their kids' education in that way. It's just, it really didn't have to get to this point, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And the way that we stop that and change course and move in a better direction, I kid you not, is to elect more Democrats. I cannot emphasize that enough, so that we have a more balanced and fair legislature that cares about doing the right thing by people and that cares about equitable policies. And I know that we can do that.
And Finterest, one last thing I want to say too about that. I have a lot of teacher friends, and I love them all. And you know what? You know as well as I know, they would jump in front of a bullet for a child. And you know they don't get paid enough. And we also know that they love what they do, because they don't get paid enough. They love what they do. So it's sort of like we're asking them again to fall on the sword. And they've got families too. So until we can get this resolved, let's just do the e-learning virtual until it can be resolved.
All right, let's talk a little bit about your people over politics message, which I personally abide by. Is my personal philosophy in politics, and so I love that. Tell us about your people over politics message.
You know, once again, it's one of those basic things that just came up. I truly believe the top-down approach to governing doesn't work anymore. Everybody's got to work at this. And so I reject that top-down approach to governing. And I truly believe that people over politics will work. And I've said to people, people who are involved in my campaign, we've got Republicans, we've got Democrats, we've got independents. One of the biggest compliments that I received, you know, I'm a Democrat, and I went into an organization where he was on the other side. And I said, hey, I'm going to run, and I hope I have your support. He says, well, you know my policies. And I said, I do, and you know mine. And he said to me, but I know you do the right thing, Julie. So that's where people over politics, we've got to come back to caring about the people of our state and what they want. We've got to listen to them. I'm going to have an open door policy. I don't care whether you're on one side and I'm on the other. I'm going to listen to you. You're going to have my cell phone number. I am going to give you ample time to tell me what you're about and why you want a certain thing, but I'm not going to close my door just because I don't believe in that. And I don't believe in partisan politics either. So when I was raising over $100,000 for our public schools, and when I was cleaning out the bays, and when I was a neighborhood association president, I didn't ask those people that. And guess what? It worked well. We worked well together, and we made things happen. And I'm going to make things happen in Tallahassee.
I have no doubt that you will. Tell us, speaking of that, what would you like to accomplish during your time as a representative in Tallahassee?
Well, there's a lot of things that I'd like to accomplish, but I want to be a strong advocate. I want to be a strong advocate for our public schools. You know, our teachers need help. Our veteran teachers need help. I'm glad to hear that we're going to be getting some money for new teachers, but we don't want to forget the veteran teachers. I'm going to be an advocate for the neighborhoods, because I believe those are so important to our district and throughout the state. Gun violence prevention is so, so, so important. Healthcare, because what we're dealing with right now with COVID, is probably going to be number one up there. And because of my background with small business owners and myself being a small business owner, I hope to accomplish and bring in more businesses to the state. And just for those who don't know, we actually started Small Business Saturday every Saturday, right as the pandemic started. And it was to sort of help businesses, whether it was takeout or carry out or order online. not that we were saving a business, but hopefully we were helping them stay afloat. And we've got a lot of play in the media on it, just in print and on TV. And it wasn't something we were going after. It was just something that we wanted to do to help people in some small way. And we get more taglines now, Jenkins for Florida. And these are, you know, independent businesses, Republican businesses, Democrat business. So I've made a difference, hopefully in some small way, and I'm going to continue to make a difference. Whether we're in office or not in office, I'm going to continue to work on this, but I'm going to be in office because I'm working too hard. My husband's like, I've never seen you work so hard, and you work pretty hard. But the only reason that we're able to work this hard is because of people like you out there, all these volunteers. Representative Mary Figg said after a 1,500 lit drop, she said, Julie, you can't buy what you've got in volunteers, and it's true. I really appreciate you all and love you all, so thank you.
That's fantastic to even hear that you demonstrate that in how you run your campaign and that it's so volunteer oriented. That's people over politics.
Carmen, yes, thank you, Carmen. Carmen's raising her finger up there. We got to acknowledge her. Carmen Schumacher.
I see Carmen actually. Carmen, let me see if we can unmute you.
I want to say something about Julie. I have worked for many people, for many candidates. And Julie, every single time that I have done something for her, she has been gracious to thank every one of the people that has helped her. And even if it is a small thing that we have done for her, she has always thanked us and made us feel that we are such a big part of her campaign. And that is so gratifying. It's so gratifying that we want to work even harder for her. Even harder for her. Even she asked us to do a 300 piece volunteer drop. Do you need 500? 300 is not enough. Would you like 500? You deserve 500. That's what we will do for her because she deserves that. Because that's the type of person that she is.
Thanks,
so
Carmen.
That's Julie. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I was just pointing her out because she's like our #1 volunteer.
Well, thank you so much for that, Carmen. I'll tell you, thank you for all of Julie's volunteers and supporters who are on the line, because running for office is exhausting, right? Like this, it becomes your baby, right, Julie?
Yes.
And you think about it all day and night, and it is too large a task and too heavy a burden to carry it alone. So when you can have supporters and friends like Carmen, like I see so many, Jeanette saying, thank you, Julie, Jackie Trigg, tireless, sincere, Tony Thompson agrees 100%, thank you for all that you do for Julie because it matters.
It does.
Julie, what do you like to do to relax?
Well, you probably don't know this. Some people don't know this, but I do like to read and I do like to roller skate, but to really relax, I cliff dive.
Because why not? Tell us about a cliff diving experience. That sounds amazing.
Well, actually, I use that line on PTA moms when they say, we want to know one thing nobody knows about you. And so I just dead face say, I cliff dive. And they all go, really? I'm joking. I don't really cliff dive, but my kid does dive off 10-foot meter. So that's as close as I've gotten.
Well, candidly, you're running for office. That's the biggest cliff dive I can think of. So
That's true. That's true.
Tell us about also your favorite vacation.
Alaska. If you haven't been to Alaska, go. We did a road trip there. People thought we were nuts, but we went from one end of the state to the other, and it was great. There's a hippie town there that it's all hippies. President Bush's former chef actually lives there and has a restaurant. It was so weird. And we're like, how did you get here? And it's the Itaron, the dog race thing that they do. He loved it and he never left. So Alaska is a great place to go.
That's
but Pinterest, thank you so much. We love you. I know you've got to get going soon.
I'm good. I will close us out. But what I'd like to do actually is a little bit of housekeeping. I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but you get on these virtual calls and these Zooms and somebody takes a screenshot of you kind of like that. So what I thought would be really fun to do, we've got like 4 minutes left, is if everybody would just smile and wave so we can take a couple of really nice screenshots for Julie so that she'll have this memory. Can we do that just really quickly? Oh, you look so good. Everybody looks great.
Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing real quick? This is Tony. This is Tony. I'm going to challenge everybody here to go on and give money. If you have $5, it does, give money. And if you can't come out and help with dropping literature, help your friends. Tell your friends. Tell your friends something about Julie. If you can't formally volunteer, just spread by word of mouth because she's absolutely awesome. Thank you.
Tony girl, you're still in my job. That's the last thing on the to-do list, which is to remind everybody, please, 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 do what Tony said. Do what Tony said. Please give. I'm not above making that ask and making it repeatedly and, laying down the pride and saying, it takes money to run campaigns, y'all. It takes resources. And if you believe in Julie as a candidate, and equally important, you believe in her vision for a better Florida, and you know and understand like I do that once she's elected, she is going to work tirelessly on everything that she's committed to doing, then please put your money where your mouth is and give your time, give your talent, give your treasure. Just wanted to say thank you again to Judy Rossman. Happy birthday again to you. Thank you for that pledge that you made that kicked us off and really just broke the ice.
We need it.
I see the chair. We've got one last very special guest. Very special guest. The chairwoman of the Florida Democratic Party, who backs down for no one, tiny in stature, mighty in presence, and really big in her fight. That is the Honorable Terry Rizzo. And Chair Rizzo, we're going to see if we can bring.
Oh, thank you so much, Rep. Driscoll. And we're so proud of you and your voice. And we need Julie Jenkins up in Tallahassee with you. And Julie, I'm coming in from another meeting where I was speaking, but I wouldn't miss being here for you. So I wanted just to come and say, go.
Ooh. Proceed.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you so much, Chair Rizzo.
Did you hear that? Did you hear? Was I unmuted?
The last part. So do you want to say the last part again?
I just was saying, go Julie. That's all. We're having a big thunderstorm here in Palm Beach County, so I don't know what's going on.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. Go Julie.
Go Julie. Well, thank you so much, Chair Rizzo. That to me is the perfect way to wind down the event. Julie, would you like to say any words to close us out?
I'm sorry, I'm always like, Pinterest, let me say one more thing. A lot of people asked about this 101 plus, and I want to read you something. Becca did it, or Jess, but 100 women, 100 years since some women got the right to vote. Why 101 women? Because this year we will not mark history, but we will make history.
That's right. Yep.
Powerful words. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope this was as uplifting for you as it certainly was to me. Julie, thank you for being an amazing candidate that we can all rally around and support. I look forward to calling you my colleague. Everyone have a great night. Stay COVID conscious and be safe.
Love you all. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Ventress. Love you. Thank you.
My pleasure.